Hey guys, welcome back. I thought I made a video about the Blue Eyes deck that I've used this month to climb to Master 1. I've just today reached Master 1. I can now enter the rating duels. You can see the statistics here from today. We have a 61.1% win rate. I won the coin flip 10 times, won 70 of those percent, and then lost 8 times and won 50%. I will show you the deck list. I will talk over the, in my opinion, best way to play the deck, different options. I have a very funny replay at the end where I can show you how grindy this deck is. Will even be better in the future with the Primate engine. But first I want to quickly take a look at Untapped GG, which is the companion that accompanied me throughout this journey. You can see the record that I've just shown you from basically 3 hours ago. Very good win rate here. I have definitely played different versions of the deck, but the one that I mostly played was this one here. As you can see right here, this is the deck list. We will take a look at this also in Master in a second. But as you can see right here, I have a 95% win rate over close to like 70 matches. I had some other variants. Here's another one and here's another one that were different. Not by that much, but just a bit. So for example, here I have 2 Blue Eyes, where in the new version I don't have this. For example, here I only have 2 Neo Kaiser Seahorse, and I don't have a Piri Rice map. But I will show you the deck list now in game. The deck is actually quite strong, is very consistent, and can perform quite well in this meta that we have right now. This is the deck list that I've used from Master 5 until Master 1, basically. The deck list where you've seen the stats from the 70 games I've played with this were basically all in Master, thinking about this. And the first thing to note here is that I only have 1 Blue Eyes Red Dragon. This is not only because I really hate the other Blue Eyes Red Dragon and think this one is just awesome from the looks perspective, but also because this is a brick and you can also use Jet Dragon. So I've put in a Jet Dragon here because Jet Dragon is basically like another Blue Eyes. You never really need 2 Blue Eyes on the field at the same time, which is why it's okay to have 1. So for example, if one of the plays that I made most is 2 Spirit Dragon on the field, and you can definitely achieve this with only 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon, because you can revive him once via your Link 1, and then you can revive him again, for example, through the Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragons. Quick note here, if you don't know how to play the deck, I have a guide on the deck. Go check that out. It is in the top right corner. And if you like my videos, please consider subscribing, hitting a thumbs up and the notification bell. This would help me out a lot. Thank you. So this is the version that I have been playing. As I already said, 1 Blue Eyes Red Dragon here, so I don't have a second brick. This can be tricky sometimes. I think, and I hope I'm not overestimating this, but I think I had, or underestimating this, but I had 1 game where they actually banished my Blue Eyes White Dragon, and where also my Roar of the Blue Eyes White Dragon was already used. So if you don't know, this can also summon from the banishment. And then I did not have access to more Blue Eyes, which I lost the game from there. This is the concern. Bestials are in the meta, but in my experience, at least in Master and in Diamond, there are not that many Bestials, so it's not that big of a problem. You can also dodge Bestials in multiple ways. Firstly, you can use your True Light. If they target your Blue Eyes to be banished, you can use True Light to just revive the Blue Eyes and dodge the Bestial. And then you can also, if you have your Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon on the field and they, for example, target a Bestial, the Blue Eyes in your graveyard, you can use the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon and tag out into your boss monster, because this one says your opponent cannot banish cards from your graveyard. You will have the boss monster on the field at the point where the Bestial wants to resolve, and then it can't anymore. So there are multiple ways to protect your Blue Eyes, but if you only play 1 Blue Eyes and only 1 War, you have to be a bit more careful with your Blue Eyes. Sometimes you just want to keep it on the field. I had some games where people activated Dimensional Fisher against me or Dimension Shifter, and in these games I was very, very careful with the use of my Blue Eyes, because I was aware of the fact if it gets banished once, I probably won't get it back. We are playing triple effect value here. This is one of the most important things to actually do, in my opinion, is to play a lot of hand traps. You need to stop the opponent going first. These strong combo decks, Snake Eyes, Jubel, and I've also seen a lot of Temper Dragons, which this deck is actually not bad against, but you have to stop them early, you have to stop them, and you need a lot of hand traps. And this is the one downside of this deck. This is very consistent. Rarely ever did I brick, but sometimes I bricked on a hand trap hand, something like one Veiler, an Ash Blossom, a Maxi, and then let's say an Infinite Impermanence and maybe a Mulch Fuvolas, which there are worse things because I can just pass the turn over and then my opponent has to play into my board. But as you can see right here, we're playing a lot of non-engine, 3 Veiler, then we have this is 5, this is 8, we have 10, we have 11, 12, we have 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then this is also basically non-engine, so 19 non-engine and 21 engine cards. So this is definitely kind of crazy, but we have a lot of consistency through cards like the Piri Rise map at 3 and the Neo Kaiser Seahorse, which is actually not a bad starter at all. We're obviously playing triple Sage with Eyes of Blue, then triple Maiden of White. This is a no-brainer. We play the Maxis. I don't have to tell you this. We play Ash Blossom, and then in this list there are only 2 Fuva losses. I copied this list from Untap GG, and they had only 2 Fuva losses, and I was like, okay, I like 3, but I stayed with 2, and this works out, I think. Then we have the Neo Kaiser Seahorse at 3, which this is quite nice. You can, if you start with the Neo Kaiser Seahorse, just go into your link 1, and then the Kaiser Seahorse can dump into the graveyard because it leaves the field to the graveyard, can dump the Maiden of White, and your link 1 can grab your field spell. Then your field spell can send your Blue Eyes, and then you can use your link 1 to revive your Blue Eyes and also revive the Maiden, and Maiden can then set True Light. So Neo Kaiser Seahorse alone gives you access, though this play is very vulnerable because your opponent could, for example, just imperm your Spirit with Eyes of Blue or use an Ash Blossom on one of them because they are in the same chain, so you can chain block, but one of them not going through means that the other one is also not really getting any value. So it's a risky play, but it can definitely be very nice. Obviously, Magna Mood is super good in this deck. You have multiple targets, the Jet Dragon, the Kaiser Seahorse, and then it makes sense to put in another Bestial Durusworm in this case in here just to have another target. You could also go for a Baldrick. I think Baldrick is also a very nice one. 2 is definitely enough, and you can fight the Fiendsmith engine with this. And then we have the Jet Dragon. Jet Dragon is definitely a crazy card. Other cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, protects your True Light, and it comes back every time a card on the field anywhere gets destroyed. It comes back from the graveyard or from the hand if you control a Blue Eyes or have a Blue Eyes in the graveyard, I think. And then also at the start of the damage step, which means you cannot really activate a lot of stuff at this point. You can target one card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. A very strong card, insanely strong in the grind game. I love the card, and I definitely prefer playing 1 Blue Eyes Jet over 2 Blue Eyes White. And then again, just be a bit careful. And then we have 2 Nibiru's. I think 1 Nibiru is a must if you play these Maxis and Fuvolos because you can sometimes draw into them. Then we have triple Piri Rise map, my MVP card. I love the card. At the start of your main phase 1, so you have to use this at the start. Always remember this. You add a monster with 0 attack from your deck to your hand, but half your life points, and after adding it to your hand until the end of the next turn after this card was activated, you cannot activate the added monster's effects or the effects of cards with its name until you normal summon. So you can add a lot of different stuff here, but the only card that you really should add is the Sage, because afterwards you will normal summon the Sage. So the Piri Rise map is definitely, or basically, 3 additional copies of the Sage with Eyes of Blue, which is super strong. Sometimes the paying of 4,000 life points can bite you. I had 2 occasions, one against Jubel where they were able to just kill me because I was at 4,000, and this boss monster here has 4,000 defense and he crashed into this and killed me. And then another thing that can sometimes be a bit tricky is if you activate the map and then you normal summon your Sage and you get interrupted here and he has 0 attack, which means that you can take a lot of damage, maybe also activate a skill drain, and then you have only 3,000 left, so you can be killed quite easily. This can sometimes be a problem, but the Piri Rise map is just insane. Sometimes it catches an Ash if you already have, for example, a Sage. But even if you have a Sage, you can activate this, get a second Sage, and summon them both with the field spell and add 2 Effect Veilers, or maybe 1 Maiden and 1 Effect Veiler. This is just insane. Then obviously we're playing triple Wishes for Eyes of Blue, and then 1 Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragons. A good card, but I don't want more of this. Then the field spell, then Called by and Crossout, definitely necessary. A lot of hand traps in the meta. We could consider running a Drolin Lockbird just to be able to cross out the Drolin Lockbird, because the Lockbird is very strong against us, so maybe -1 Veiler, +1 Drolin Lockbird. Then Imperms, they are just great. We don't have a lot of Bestials, so they don't conflict. The trap is obviously awesome. And then this skill drain here. So in this original list, we were not playing the skill drain, but we were playing the, I have to quickly check this. We were playing the other level 1 tuner here, and a bit of a different package actually. Can't we find him here? Maybe related cards. Not sure how the name of the guy is. This one here. So in the original list, there was this master here. There was no skill drain. And then there was also, I think, only 2 Pee-wee Rice maps. And there was Synchro Rumble, the card that can basically revive a tuner or the blue Ice Red Dragon from the graveyard. So this one here, that one you can search with the Crimson Dragon. If Crimson Dragon gets summons, you can search this one. But I put this one out and this one for a skill drain and another Peri-Rice map, which is so the idea of having these cards in is that you then also play this. I think it's called Zephyr Dragon. It's related to the Cosmic Blazer Dragon, I think. Okay, not really then. It's called Zephyr Dragon, something like this. It's a rare. It's also a level 12. You can quickly check for a synchro level 12 here. It is, where is this card? It's a rare. Is this one here, Stardust Zephyr Divine Dragon, which says that your cards cannot be destroyed by card effect, which means your boss monster will stay on the field. So what you can do with adding this guy I just showed you and the Synchro Rumble, and also by adding another Spirit Dragon, you need 3 for this, which is why I didn't want to play this. Then you can also end up on a board, not always, but sometimes, where you have this guy, the Stardust Zephyr Dragon, you have Cosmic Blazer Dragon, and you have your boss monster, which cannot be destroyed in the end phase because of the Zephyr Dragon, which is also a monster negate. And obviously your opponent is not breaking through. But I think this is overkill. I think having the Cosmic Blazer Dragon and the end boss monster on the field is enough. I will say something in terms to that in a second. But yeah, this you can do, but you will need another Spirit Dragon right here. I think it's overkill and not necessary here. So now for the extra deck, we are playing one Tyrant and the Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate. This package is really strong. Then sometimes the Black Rose Dragon comes up. It's a Bestial plus one of your level 1 tuners, clears the entire field, can definitely be nice going second. This deck is not that great. We have the Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, another target for the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, but I rarely ever use this, honestly, because the play that I always try to do is go for 2 Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. Then we have Baron de Fleur. This definitely comes up. I would play a Baron. This is not only a Bestial plus a Neo Kaiser Seos. There are also other combinations where you can make a Baron. Baron is just strong. Then we have Cosmic Blazer Dragon and the Crimson Dragon package here. So you make 2 Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon and one goes into your boss monster. The other one goes into Crimson Dragon. I normally do this on the opponent's draw phase. And then Crimson Dragon targets this one to go into Cosmic Blazer Dragon. And at this point, the game is normally over. You just have to slow down, not even kill your opponent, and the Cosmic Blazer Dragon will come back at the end of the turn and be once again on the field. 4,000 attack, 4,000 defense. Crazy effects. And by the way, you can also use this multiple times each end phase. So for example, if this comes back in the end phase, you have used this already, your opponent activates another effect, you can once again use the Cosmic Blazer Dragon, once again negate something, it will once again come back. All of this is not once per turn, this is what I'm saying. It's just a crazy card. Starslayer I think is mandatory in order to break your opponent's boards. Good cards to break your opponent's board are the Black Rose Dragon, the Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon, being able to attack everything, but sometimes something sticks on the board, then you have a Starslayer. 2 Spirit with Eyes of Blue are definitely enough. Sometimes your first one gets negated, then you want a second one. 1 Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spears. You can definitely play 2. I would go -1 SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight is just not that great in this deck because you normally want to make it with this guy here, but this guy says you cannot special summon monsters except dragons, so it doesn't really work, and you don't want to use your Heretic Seal in order to go into an SP. So SP is just a mid card in this deck, not that great. If you have a second seal, go ahead and do that. So what I'm normally doing, what I always try to do is, and this plays into Nibiru very heavily, go into a 2 Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon to go for this Cosmic Blazer and Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon play. This normally wins the game, and I'm not kidding you, I have been Nibiru'd I think once or twice on this. All the other times I got this through, it just got through and nobody had Nibiru. And I also checked the deck list of my opponent. Not a lot of people are on Nibiru. They have maybe 1 Nibiru, but I also, for example, don't really play into Fuvalos. I don't really play into Maxi. So if I get Maxied, if I get Fuvalos, I normally pass without giving my opponent a card, having some Effect Raiders in the hand maybe or something, and hope for the best, honestly. So that might also be the case why I don't really see a lot of Nibirus killing my double Spirit Dragon. But this play actually works quite well, and if you can establish the Blazer together with the boss monster, then it's basically game over. So now let me hop on over into a very, very fun replay that basically explains why this deck is so strong and why the grind game is so cool. This is a very good one against Voices Voice, which also is very grindy. Hope you have a lot of fun. All right, here we are for the replay. This was a crazy one. Let me tell you, it took very, very long. I went first, which is obviously a nice, and this is, okay, this was one of the famous hands where you just brick on a complete hand trap hand, right? This is what I talked about. This can sometimes happen, but it's not the end of the world, as you will see right here. We are passing, I am passing because I can activate Imperm from the hand. I could have set the crossout, but then it will be very hard to get the Fuvalos through. You could argue that I could go Maxi, and then if he ashes the Maxi, I go crossout and then can make Fuvalos, but I decided to play it this way. So we are playing here, and I see Barrier of the Voices voice, which immediately I'm thinking, okay, neither Fuvalos nor Maxi are that great against this deck, unfortunately, because they do not summon from the extra deck or from the deck a lot, and yeah, there's just a good deck against both of these hand traps. They are starting here, adding the Zafira. I can't really stop this, so I'm letting it go. He goes Zafira, adds the Sour Harvest, which tells me that the Sky Guardian is probably in the hand, and this also tells me that I will have to use Imperm and Effect Vader to stop something, but both of them are not that great in this matchup. Then he goes Zafira to Ritual Summon directly. I go Maxi. I don't go Fuvalos because this happens from the hand, obviously. Maxi goes through. I'm very happy at this point. He has a low in hand also. This is tough. And there is a Skull Guardian. We are drawing a Nip. Okay, Nip not great against this deck normally. The low will return from the graveyard. And at this point, I think, okay, I'm thinking I will use Effect Valor and Infinite Permanence on this because afterwards this negate will be live. I was thinking that this will probably be the end of the turn after the low is being summoned. He will continue playing, so I go Infinite Permanence knowing that there is a Sour Harvest to negate me. And then I go for the Effect Vader. Obviously this way around, the other way around wouldn't work because then you can't activate the Imperm. Oh, you can. Forget what I'm saying. You could do this. But I'm negating this. Now also the negate is no longer live. If I should use the Nibiru or if I should use the Mulchami, I was expecting him to pass here, honestly, after the setting of the low. I think it's the trap, yeah. But he didn't. He shuffled back in order to summon from the deck another Sour Harvest here, which honestly, now that I'm seeing this, I definitely missed the point to activate Fuvalos here. I should have activated Fuvalos at this point. Then he normal summons a Diviner, so he continues playing here and pitches the Trias Hierarchy. I'm deciding on going Magna Mood, removing this, and he triggers the Sage, which is nice. I can now go Fuvalos and will get 2 draws. And it becomes more and more likely that I will be able to use my Nibiru here, which is super, super nice. Obviously, he was very greedy. Summons another Skull Guardian, which now he can once again negate. So I go Magna Mood, activate the Magna Mood, and he decides to negate and destroy it. I'm very happy because now my Nibiru is actually live. So destroys it. I have a play in hand now, that's also good. Then I get attacked here. I'm like, okay, this is not the biggest problem. I don't need all my life points. Main phase 2, and he wants to pass, and I'm nibbing him here, which is obviously super, super great. He has played very far into my nib. Then again, I don't have a lot of monsters here. He decides, and I think this is crazy, to activate both of these effects to get basically another low and then the Sour Harvest to the field, but he will give me, I think, 4 cards with this. This is a crazy decision. I definitely would not have done this at his point. Gives me 2 cards here, and then summons Sour Harvest, gives me another 2 cards, which is, I think this is a mistake. But it is what it is. We are starting the turn. I'm activating my Peri Rise map, paying even more life points here, but I figure, okay, I don't really need them. Either I win or lose. And I just start into the turn, being aware that this can basically negate one of my summons. What I'm trying to achieve here is to somehow get him to activate this one so that I can use my True Light. I don't want this to destroy my True Light. This was my plan here. So I'm going for the Link 1 here. Let's this go through. Interesting. I'm like, okay, this is fine for me. I add the Field Spell. I think I go for Blue Eyes next. I activate the Field Spell and he decides to destroy the Field Spell. I'm super happy because this is what I wanted. I want my True Light ready. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do a lot of good things in this turn, but I have a lot of hand traps. So I go for the True Light here, activate the True Light to set Wishes, and then I go Wishes. I think discard the Kaiser Seahorse and add a Roar for another Blue Eyes and another Effect Vader, just to have a lot of hand traps, slowly win the game, slowly grind it out. Obviously Voice can do this too. We go for the Blue Eyes. This also triggers the Maiden. Oh no, I decided to not trigger the Maiden because I thought I wanted to do this later on. What I wanted to do here is go for the Tyrant Dragon, but then at this point I realized, okay, I still have the Sour Harvest. The Sour Harvest is still online, so if I go for Tyrant now, he will just be negated. So looking at my board position, I can only go Seals here. here. That's not that great. So I have to go battle phase and kill this so I can summon from the extra deck. And here I'm like, okay, the biggest problem is this one here, right? Because this just kills me. I have 675 HP. So I think, okay, I'm just going for the seals, and I will use the seals to bounce this thing here. And then I have like 2 effect Vedas, 2 imperms, and 1 ash to stop his 2 hand cards and this one here. And I'm like, okay, I should be able to do this. The graveyard is basically dead. So we are passing over. He draws and starts with the barrier. I'm ashing the barrier because I'm like, okay, this might be the best ash target that I have. And once again, we are still on the plan of using the seals on this token here. And he goes for Linkuribo. I'm like, okay, I don't know to do anything here. Goes for Gardener. I'm like, okay, nothing too fancy. And then he goes for Maximus. So he went for this just to have like an extra deck monster in the graveyard that he can banish for the Maximus. I'm like, okay, one of the other hand cards is Maximus. That's great. I'm using my Effect Veiler here on the Maximus because I want to keep my imperms for potentially my turn. And I've already activated the monster effect, so Triple Tactic Talents is live. What can I do? So at this point I feel quite good, and now he normal summons, because this is a card I already knew, right? Because it bounced back to the hand last turn, so he normal summons this, and I'm like, this is a bit, because he obviously can now get this or bounce this out when I activate my seals, and I have to activate my seals. I can't imperm this because this goes to the hand for cost, so it will be gone already, and then you will be able to summon another Sour Avis. Note here, there's 1 Sour Avis here and 2 Skull Guardians here, so normally people are only playing 2 Skull Guardians, so I'm like, okay, he will get Sour Avis back, he will get Low back, and Low will be able to set another spell trap. He goes battle phase, forces my Heretic Seals here, obviously, this is what I wanted to do always. He takes this out, and at this point I'm honestly a bit confused. Oh, no, it will be clear in a second here. I was confused here. So my plan was to use Infinite Impermanence on the Low, but Low can't be targeted. This is why I couldn't activate this. So I activate my Seals, he activates Low. Seals goes for, I think, the Jet Dragon, you know? Jet Dragon is crazy in the grind game. And now my plan was, I was like, okay, it's no big problem. I will just imperm the Low, but obviously there's a ritual monster, there's a Low, and there's the barrier. I cannot target the Low, which is actually a problem because Low now sets the Blessing of the Voiceless Voice, which is a great grind game card, because this can bring back to the hand Voiceless Voice cards from the graveyard and the banishment, namely the Skull Guardian that I don't really want to see. This can also ritual summon if I special summon. He attacks attacks the Jet Dragon. I decide to bounce this back. It doesn't really matter. Doesn't make a big difference. Jet Dragon is engraved, that's great. He activates this again, doesn't really matter, and grabs back the Zafira. I use my True Light at this point here just to have it used, because maybe there's another Skull Guardian and I want to have used my True Light before. He grabs back Zafira, which is actually really bad for me because he can grab back the Sour Avis, the Skull Guardian from the graveyard with the Zafira, and then he can also summon it this turn. I think he also will. Uses the Zafira to ritual summon for the Skull Guardian here, using from his hand the other Sour Avis, and then he can also search. I cannot target this, gets a backup Low, and I'm like, okay, this is really bad. But now he goes for something very interesting, which honestly I think saved me here. He goes for a Dynamondo, which is always a risky play. So he wants to shuffle back one of his Skull Guardians. Makes sense because you want him in the deck, and my True Light. So I decide to use my Effect Veiler on this because I can't use Effect Veiler in my turn. And here is the thing. Obviously, this is bad into Called By, right? So if he goes for the Dynamondo, gets this to the graveyard in my draw phase to summon back the Sour Avis and the Low. If I have a Called By, this punishes this hardly. Unfortunately, I won't draw a Called By, but this opens me up to another interesting play that I would not have been able to do if he would not have gone for Dynamondo. I'm drawing Kaiser Seer, is not the greatest, and draw phase he takes out to bring back the Skull Guardian. I use at this point my True Light just to have it used. Because I'm like, okay, he will re-establish the negate. At this moment, I didn't catch the fact that I could just imperm the Skull Guardian, which you will see in a second here. So he summons the Skull Guardian, and the good thing is, normally I can't target the Skull Guardian when Low is on the field, but Low is not yet on the field. So at this point, I can still target the Skull Guardian, which is what I will do here. I will negate Skull Guardian, so the Omni Negate is also gone, and this does not have 4,100 attack, but only 2,050. So at this point, the only interruption is this Sour Avis, and I'm hoping, or it's not hoping, I'm basically knowing that the other Skull Guardian is in the graveyard, and he won't be able to summon it with, for example, the Blessing. he will be able to activate the low, but it doesn't really matter. So in this, or at this point, my goal basically is to get rid of this one here, because this is his true light, basically getting back everything from the graveyard. These will not be useful in a few turns, so this is my goal, right? I go main phase 1, summon the Seahorse, but I'm like, okay, I will have to, and then they use the Seahorse effect to target the Maiden. Then you can chain the Maiden to revive a tuner from your graveyard, which is a free body. This is what I'm doing here, another Sage. And at this point I'm realizing, okay, I have to battle first in order to get rid of this, otherwise this will negate my extra deck summons. So I'm killing this, killing the Skull Guardian. Unfortunately can't kill the low, but it's okay. I'm like, okay, that's not the biggest problem. And at this point I am going for a Baron. And the Baron I can use obviously to destroy the Blessing, and at this point it looks really bad. If the Blessing is in the graveyard and the Trap is in the graveyard, they don't really have a lot of potential in order to win the grind game. I also get my Blue-Eyes Jet Dragon back. This card is just insane. And now I can also make, I think, a Spirit Dragon. Do I have a Spirit Dragon left? Yeah, I make another Spirit Dragon. And obviously at this point it looks really, really well. But this was a very, very long game. He goes for another low. I let this go through. Now he has triple barrier. But barrier is basically dead at this point. I let this go through. He grabs another Zafira. And here I'm like, okay, Zafira could be annoying, but he gives up, and I win this very, very grindy game against one of the best grind game decks. So Blue Eyes is super, super fun. A super, super fun deck. And I think at the moment the pure version is the best. But let me know in the comments what you think of the deck. How are you playing it? Are you even playing it? And be aware that this will get great support in the future. So if you want to invest, I think it's a good time right now. Hopefully you liked the video. Let me know in the comments, and we will see each other in the next one.